Recently I made a video about how far Saitama would get in the world of Dragon Ball, and today I want to do something similar with him, but with the Dragon Ball Z movies. A couple rules before we start this though. One, I will be considering the movies as their own separate continuity from the anime, with the exception of if a character from one of the movies is directly compared to a character that is only in the anime, then obviously I need to use the anime to scale that character. And number two, this will only be dealing with the original 13 Dragon Ball Z movies from Dead Zone to Wrath of the Dragon. Nothing from before, nothing after. Now that we got all that out of the way, I'll keep this section brief because I already discussed Saitama and how strong he is extensively in my original video, so go check that out if you want a full breakdown of his abilities. But in short, Saitama is really strong. He's so strong that some people even think he is an unbeatable gag character of some sorts, and while I personally don't think that's the case, or at least I think they're oversimplifying it a little bit, I can't really blame them when the series is literally called One Punch Man. I would argue that the gag is that he's too strong for the story he's in, but you know, that's a different conversation. Moving on to his actual feats though. In the manga, Saitama fights Cosmic Fear Garo, a martial artist with the power of God and anime on his side, and the opening clash between the two managed to blot out a massive amount of stars from the sky, with calculations putting this anywhere from multi-solar system level to even multi-galaxy level. One thing I would like to correct from my original video, I called these things hyperspace gates because that's the translation I'm reading, but the more accurate translation from what I'm seeing in the comments is subspace gates, which really wouldn't scale Saitama anywhere, as a subspace is only 3-dimensional, not 4-dimensional. But Saitama doesn't need that to get to 4th dimensional anymore because he has a new feat in the manga that I only briefly covered in my original video. For context, the current big bad in the One Punch Man manga is called Empty Void. The way Empty Void works is that he's able to interact with the infinite 3D multiverse in what he describes as a hyperspace in the One Punch Man manga. This is backed up by Blast, who says that the Dimension Slash, Empty Void's signature move, is one of God's powers and repeatedly states that God is some sort of higher dimensional entity. The One Punch Man manga even visually shows us a Tesseract, which is the most common depiction of a 4th dimensional area. And Saitama is able to casually catch this attack with 2 fingers, easily putting him at 4th dimensional in terms of power, or Universal Plus at bare minimum. He could potentially be higher, but currently he doesn't have the feats to support anything above Universal Plus. But some people like to downplay this feat and say it's only planetary, which I vehemently disagree with, but I'll be sure to address where Saitama would scale if you ignore this feat. There are 2 more corrections I would like to make from my original video on Saitama, and that would be his growth rate and his time travel ability. The manga very clearly highlights that Saitama is only growing so fast due to an intense surge of emotions, likely from Genos dying. Now, you could argue that fighting an opponent stronger than himself would provoke a similar reaction, or at least a similar surge of emotion. But really, based on his competition for this video, that really won't be a factor. And when you actually do the math behind the graphs that the manga gives us, it really isn't anything more than a few times increase for him. Next is his time travel ability, which I improperly credited to his speed, saying that Saitama had potentially immeasurable speed based on this feat, which is not the case. This is actually closer to a time travel technique, as Saitama needs to manipulate subatomic particles in order to pull this off. Not to mention, but he actually forgets the fight with Cosmic Fear Garo, meaning he forgets the time travel technique as well. So not only is it not immeasurable speed, but it's not even something he can do anymore, so it's not even a factor for the video. In conclusion, Saitama would be Universal Plus with massively faster than light speed scaling bare minimum. Again, he's definitely capable of more, we'll definitely get more feats in the future, but as of right now, this is where he scales. The first major obstacle in Saitama's way is the very first villain of the Dragon Ball Z movies, Garlic Jr., and no, I'm not joking. Really quick, just to get this out of the way, the Daizenshu calls the Dead Zone a hyperspace, and some translations even use the term superspace. This would make Garlic Jr. 4th dimensional, or even potentially 5th dimensional, or in other words, Universal Plus bare minimum. However, this is extremely inconsistent with the power scaling that comes before and after this movie. In truth, I don't know what the Dead Zone is. It's not a black hole, it's not a portal to an alternate dimension, it's not a hyperspace, it's just kind of a thing. So we're going to ignore it for this video because it's not even really relevant to the situation. Now back to the serious power scaling, Saitama clearly outstats Garlic Jr. Garlic Jr. would be above characters like Goku during the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, whose Kamehameha could destroy a planet. However, destroying a planet isn't even impressive to Saitama's very low ends. He's also much slower. While Saitama is billions of times the speed of light, Garlic Jr. is only a few times the speed of light, as he's able able to speed blitz Goku and Piccolo, but once they take off their weighted clothing, the two fare much better against him. There's also the Dead Zone, which is completely useless against Saitama. In the Dragon Ball Z anime before the Garlic Jr. arc, it's established that Garlic Jr. was able to break out of the Dead Zone because he got strong enough. So Saitama, someone who's clearly more powerful than literally everyone in that arc, would have absolutely no problem breaking out of the Dead Zone. The Dead Zone isn't even strong enough to trap Saitama in it regardless, because Garlic Jr. establishes that not even light can escape it, but Saitama is already billions of times faster than light, meaning he is much faster than the pole of the Dead Zone. However, Garlic Jr. still needs to be covered because of one thing that makes him a really tricky opponent, and that's his immortality.
I told you, I will never die!
Immortality in Dragon Ball is absolutely cracked. You can never ever die. In Dragon Ball Super, another character named Zamasu wishes for immortality, and it's stated by Beerus himself that not even the Hakai can kill someone who's immortal. The Hakai is extremely potent. It's even able to erase spirits out of existence, spirits that come from gag mangas, by the way. And Dragon Ball immortality is above that. So even though Saitama severely outstats Garlic Jr., Garlic Jr.'s body would just come back from any damage taken by it. You think this would make the fight a standstill since Garlic Jr. can't do anything to Saitama and Saitama can't do anything to Garlic Jr. However, you would be wrong because Garlic Jr. is really dumb. Garlic Jr. is immortal, so if he had just waited Goku and Piccolo out during their fight, he would have won. Goku and Piccolo would have run out of ki eventually and would have been too weak to fight back, and Garlic Jr. could have just killed them there. But instead, as soon as he gets overpowered, he decides to rage quit and open up the one thing that can actually stop him. You think he would have learned his lesson, right? But he decides to open it again during the Garlic Jr. filler arc of Z. Saitama ain't the brightest bulb in the box, but goddamn, he's smarter than Garlic Jr. So yeah, if nothing else, Saitama would probably just accidentally knock Garlic Jr. into the Dead Zone, and then that would be the end of the fight. Now, I personally don't really think that this is a stopping off point for Saitama, like, at all. But if you really believe that the Dead Zone is a hyperspace or even a super space, then you know what? I guess Saitama caps here. Absolutely no disrespect, but do you really think Raditz is universal? Do you think Raditz is a multiverse-slaying god or something? Was that really Toriyama's intention when he came up with the character of Raditz?
We interrupt this program to bring you...
Have you ever wanted to give me money? Oh, sorry, 1 second. Really now? Okay, fine, whatever, jeez. Okay, so apparently my lawyer says I lack tact, whatever that is. Anyway, in all seriousness though, hi, my name is Unremarkable. I like money. I am not going to hide this from you. I don't have a Patreon or anything, so if you want to support me, just request a video at UnremarkableYT69 on Cash App. It'll be on the screen and in the description in case I mispronounced it at all. It's $1, bare minimum. If you want to donate more, you can, but I'm not like fucking Divine over here charging $50 a video. Like, I promise you, you don't need to charge that much for a video. Your videos are like 9 minutes long anyway. Okay, but seriously though, if you want to, great. If you don't, fair enough, you know, I don't like spending money either. Okay, now back to the show. Now, for the actual meat and potatoes of this video, I think there are 3 stopping off points for Saitama depending on how you scale him. On the low end, Saitama is biting the curb to Metacooler. Even at the beginning of the movie, Metacooler would be stronger than he was in the last film, and 5th form Cooler was able to tank a Kaioken times 20 Kamehameha from Goku. Cooler actually remarks that he could see how Goku could beat his brother before Goku uses the Kaioken or transforms, meaning that base Goku in this movie could potentially be stronger than even 100% buff Frieza. And Metacooler would be stronger than that. For reference, the destruction of planet Vegeta is calced at solar system level because of how violently it was destroyed, and 5th form Cooler would be like 100 times stronger than that. That's a rough estimate, but I'm not joking. And then Metacooler would be stronger than that. Metacooler is easily multi-solar system level at bare minimum. Even if you want to ignore that though, his hacks abilities are absolutely cracked. Endless regeneration, endless stamina. He basically gets Zenkai boosts. He grows throughout the fight, going from base Goku level to needing 2 Super Saiyans going all out to take him out. And he has instant transmission, not to mention his body corrects any flaws that it perceives it has. Even if the flaw is that he only has one body, because the Big Getty Star, the thing that powers Metacooler, can just kind of create an infinite amount of him. It gets even crazier when you consider Daizenshu. The guidebooks say that Metacooler has infinite mechanical power. Infinite power would grant Metacooler high universal attack potency. However, Metacooler's high ends don't really match up to Saitama's high ends because Saitama is Universal Plus, which is a tier above a high universal. Honestly, it'd probably go the same way that the Mole Men fight in episode 1 went. Saitama would probably get a kick out of this, I can't lie. If you think he gets past Metacooler though, the next candidate up would probably be Broly, because Bojack and Android 13 are weak, let's be honest. If you think Saitama is Galaxy level, then Broly one-shots a Galaxy in the opening of his movie, so Broly's probably gonna win. That was Broly in his restricted Super Saiyan form, by the way, who is on par with base Goku, roughly, and then legendary Super Saiyan Broly is able to just tank a Super Kamehameha from Super Saiyan Goku. Broly was able to destroy massive chunks of the South Galaxy, which is essentially the South Quadrant of the universe, in his restricted Super Saiyan form, not even his all-out legendary Super Saiyan form. He even got statements from the writer saying that he can destroy entire galaxies and even the universe if he wanted to, something that's backed up by Takao Koyama, the guy that created Broly. But he is a massive Broly fanboy, so, you know, take his word with a grain of salt, I suppose. There's even multiple statements in the movie that Broly is a threat to the universe, which would grant him high universal attack potency. I'm starting to see a pattern here. However, Broly's high ends, again, don't compare to Saitama's high ends, and even though Broly grows in strength, Saitama does too, and you could argue that that would cancel each other out. I personally scale Saitama to Universal Plus, so I think he would clear Broly, but if you're a down player, then, you know, I guess this is where he would cap off. I will say, though, a fight between Saitama and Z Broly would probably be the most entertaining out of any proposed matchup in this video. Even with Universal Plus scaling, Saitama is not surviving Fusion Reborn. I would say even Goku is enough to take care of him based on his feats in the movie, which we'll cover in a little bit. But for this section of the video, I want to talk about Janemba specifically. In the movie, Goku powers up into Super Saiyan 3 to combat Fat Janemba. Just by powering up, he manages to shake all of Otherworld. For those who don't know, Otherworld is absolutely massive. It's so massive that Heaven, which is the same size as the infinite living universe, manages to get lost in the skies of Otherworld. That's how massive this area is. In Daizenshu, it describes Otherworld as an area that transcends the dimensionality of the living universe, which is backed up by Takao Koyama. This can be interpreted a few different ways. This would make it baseline 4th dimensional, however you could argue 5th dimensional if you wanted to include a temporal dimension, which would be backed up by how Goku and the Super Exciting Guide says that Otherworld is without time. It gets even crazier if you consider the possible definition of outerversal, that being transcending dimensionality. For my money, this could be a potentially multiversal level feat, and you could even argue up to outerversal if you wanted to. I bring this all up because after Fat Janemba transforms into Super Janemba, I'll just be calling him Janemba for the rest of the video, he absolutely dogwalks Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Janemba isn't just a really big power level though, he has multiple other abilities that make him absolutely broken. Like, we need to patch this man out of the series. Transfiguration, seemingly infinite stamina, regeneration, he can stretch his arms kind of like Piccolo can, teleportation, and yeah, Saitama has fought people with a bunch of extra abilities before, like Cosmic Fear Garo. The difference here is that there is a massive gap in power, and it's not in Saitama's favor. Janemba is going to bully him, stat check him. Janemba doesn't even play with his food. He is out for blood 100% of the time. Even if you wanted to argue that Saitama would grow during this fight, which is likely, the increase that the manga shows us based on the graphs it provides really isn't anything more than a few times over. And considering Janemba likely isn't going to let him grow, there isn't much opportunity for Saitama to outgrow Janemba's current strength. In my opinion, there is no way for Saitama to currently, based on what we know, get past Janemba. And for anyone who's watching this video and wants to argue that we've never seen Saitama get hurt before, here's a panel of Garo punching him, and on the very next page, he has a nosebleed. He's even seen spitting up a little blood on the previous panel. In conclusion, thank you very much for the support on the original Saitama video. That was absolutely earth-shattering for me. If this video even does half as well as that one, I will be a happy man. Anyway, where's the close? We already know the smell of it.